I never thought I'd be judged for the very thing I was most proud of, being a parent." Mark's voice cracked as he stared into the camera, his eyes reflecting both pain and wisdom. But that moment in the restaurant changed everything, in ways I never could have imagined. If you've ever felt misunderstood or judged too quickly, hit that like button. And subscribe to join our community of real stories that remind us second chances are always worth it. The babysitter was late. Again. Mark Reynolds paced his living room, checking his watch for the 5th time in as many minutes. His date was scheduled for 7 p.m., and it was already 6:40. Emma, his 7-year-old daughter, sat on the couch watching him with amusement, still in her soccer uniform from practice. "Daddy, you look like you're going to explode," she giggled, her 2 front teeth missing, giving her that adorable gap-toothed smile that melted his heart every time. "I'm not going to explode, pumpkin," Mark said, running his hand through his dark hair. "I'm just nervous." "Because you like the pretty lady in the picture?" Mark smiled. He'd shown Emma a photo of Olivia, his date for tonight. It had been 3 years since his wife Sarah had passed away from cancer, leaving him to raise their daughter alone. 3 years of grief, adjustment, and finally, tentative steps towards something new. "Yes, because I like the pretty lady in the picture," he admitted. "And because Mrs. Winters is late, and you need to get cleaned up, and I." The doorbell rang, and Mark exhaled with relief. Mrs. Winters, a retired teacher from Emma's school, bustled in with apologies about her car not starting. Within minutes, she had Emma heading toward the bathroom for a shower while Mark gave last-minute instructions. "Emergency numbers are on the fridge. Bedtime is 8:30, I know," Mrs. Winters said with a patient smile. "We've done this before, Mark. Go enjoy yourself. You deserve it." Mark nodded, though the guilt of leaving Emma still nagged at him. He checked his appearance one last time in the hallway mirror, navy blazer over a light blue button-down, dark jeans, and leather shoes. Casual but put together. It had been so long since he'd dressed for anyone but his colleagues at the architectural firm. "Daddy!" Emma called, running down the hallway in her bathrobe, hair still dripping. She threw her arms around his waist. "Don't forget to tell her about me." Mark knelt down, meeting his daughter's earnest gaze. "Of course I will, pumpkin. You're the most important person in my life. And tell her I want to meet her if she's nice," Emma added seriously. "We'll see," Mark said, kissing her forehead. "Be good for Mrs. Winters." As he drove to the restaurant, Mark rehearsed conversation starters in his head. He and Olivia had matched on a dating app 2 weeks ago and had been texting regularly. She was a marketing executive, loved hiking, and had a sharp wit that came through even in text messages. They'd never spoken on the phone, preferring to meet in person first. The restaurant was a trendy Italian place downtown, with warm lighting and exposed brick walls. Mark arrived 5 minutes early and secured a table by the window. His palms were sweaty as he checked his phone, scrolling through Emma's photos to calm his nerves. When Olivia walked in, Mark's breath caught. Her profile pictures hadn't done her justice. She had warm brown eyes, shoulder-length chestnut hair, and a smile that transformed her entire face. She wore a simple green dress that complemented her olive skin. "Mark?" she asked, approaching his table. He stood quickly, nearly knocking over his water glass. "Olivia." "Hi." "Yes. It's great to finally meet you." They shook hands, and Mark felt a spark of connection that surprised him. As they settled into their seats, the initial awkwardness dissolved into easy conversation. Olivia was passionate about her work, loved the same obscure indie bands he did, and had a laugh that made him want to keep talking just to hear it again. "So," she said after they'd ordered their meals, "tell me about yourself. Your profile was intriguingly vague." Mark took a sip of his wine. "Well, I'm an architect. I specialize in sustainable design. I've lived in this city for about 10 years now. I love architecture, Olivia said, leaning forward. What made you choose that field? I've always been fascinated by the way spaces affect people, Mark explained, relaxing into a topic he loved. A well-designed building can change how people feel, how they interact. It's like creating little worlds. Olivia nodded, genuinely interested. That's beautiful. I feel the same way about marketing, actually. It's about understanding how people connect with ideas. Their conversation flowed effortlessly through appetizers and into the main course. They discovered shared passions for travel, old movies, and hiking the nearby mountain trails. Mark couldn't remember the last time he'd felt so at ease with someone new. As they finished their pasta, Mark decided it was time to mention Emma. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to a recent photo of his daughter at the park, her face smeared with ice cream. There's someone important I'd like you to know about, he began, his voice softening. This is my daughter, Emma. She's 7, going on 30, according to her. He looked up, expecting to see Olivia's smile, but instead found her expression had changed. Her eyes had widened slightly, and she set down her fork. You have a daughter? She asked, her tone unreadable. Yes, Mark said, suddenly uncertain. She's the center of my universe. Her mother passed away 3 years ago. Olivia was quiet for a moment, staring at her plate. When she looked up, her eyes held a mixture of emotions Mark couldn't quite decipher. You can leave, she said softly. I'm a single mom. Mark blinked, confused. I'm sorry. You can leave, Olivia repeated, her voice stronger now. I have a son. Jacob. He's 9. I didn't mention him in my profile because... She paused, swallowing hard. Because the last 3 men I dated disappeared as soon as they found out I was a mother. The realization of what she was saying hit Mark like a wave. She wasn't rejecting him for having a child, she was giving him an out, expecting him to reject her for the same reason. Olivia, he said gently, why would I leave? I'm a single parent too. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Most men say they're fine with it at first, but then they realize what it means. The scheduling conflicts, the responsibility, the fact that my son will always come first. They say they understand, but they don't. Mark reached across the table, hesitating before lightly touching her hand. I do understand. Better than most. Olivia looked at him, really looked at him, as if seeing him clearly for the first time. You're not just saying that. Emma asked me to tell you about her, Mark said with a small smile. She said, and I quote, tell her I want to meet her if she's nice. Kids are pretty good judges of character. A tear escaped, rolling down Olivia's cheek. She quickly wiped it away, laughing softly. Jacob asked me if I was going to meet a prince tonight. I told him princes don't exist in real life. He said I wasn't looking hard enough. Smart kid, Mark said, feeling something warm unfurl in his chest. Tell me about him. Olivia's face transformed as she spoke about her son, his love for dinosaurs and space, his struggle with math but gift for storytelling, how he insisted on sleeping with his window open even in winter because the stars need to see me. As she talked, Mark recognized the same fierce love he felt for Emma, the same pride and worry and overwhelming desire to protect. When she finished, she looked almost surprised at herself. I'm sorry, she said. I don't usually talk about him so much on first dates. Don't apologize, Mark said. It's refreshing. Most of my first dates involve pretending Emma doesn't exist until the right moment, whatever that means. Olivia nodded in understanding. It's like we're supposed to be ashamed of the most important parts of our lives. Exactly, Mark agreed. But here's the thing, Emma isn't just part of my package deal. She's made me a better person. More patient, more present. She's not baggage, she's my greatest gift. Yes, Olivia whispered. That's exactly it. They ordered dessert, tiramisu to share, and the conversation shifted to the challenges and joys of single parenthood. They compared notes on school projects, pediatricians, and the impossible task of maintaining a social life while raising a child alone. Jacob's father isn't in the picture, Olivia explained as they lingered over coffee. He decided parenthood wasn't for him when Jacob was 2. I'm sorry, Mark said. That must have been incredibly difficult. It was, she acknowledged. But in some ways, it was easier than what you went through. I can't imagine losing a spouse, especially with a young child. Mark nodded, feeling the familiar ache that came with talking about Sarah. The hardest part was helping Emma understand. She was 4 when Sarah died. Old enough to feel the loss, but too young to really comprehend it. How did you manage? Olivia asked softly. One day at a time, Mark said. Some days were just about survival, making sure Emma was fed and bathed and loved. Other days were about finding joy again, teaching her that it's okay to be happy even when you're sad. As they walked to their cars after dinner, a comfortable silence fell between them. The night air was cool, and Mark resisted the urge to take Olivia's hand. I had a really nice time tonight, he said as they reached her car. So did I, Olivia replied, her keys jingling in her hand. Even with my dramatic moment. Mark smiled. Especially with your dramatic moment. It was honest. She looked up at him, her expression open and vulnerable. Would you like to do this again? Maybe something with the kids? There's a science museum exhibit on dinosaurs that Jacob has been begging to see. Emma would love that, Mark said, feeling a surge of hope. She's going through a phase where she wants to be a paleontologist. Or a soccer player. Or both, somehow. Olivia laughed. Sounds like a plan, then. As Mark drove home, he couldn't stop smiling. The evening had taken an unexpected turn, but it felt right in a way he hadn't experienced in years. He wasn't just starting a potential relationship with Olivia, he was opening the door to a whole new kind of family possibility. Mrs. Winters was reading on the couch when he arrived home, and she gave him a knowing look as he thanked her. Good night, she asked with a smile. Better than I expected, Mark admitted. After Mrs. Winters left, Mark quietly opened Emma's door. His daughter was fast asleep, her stuffed triceratops clutched to her chest, wild blonde curls splayed across the pillow. She looked so much like Sarah that it sometimes took his breath away. Sweet dreams, pumpkin, he whispered, gently kissing her forehead. The next morning over pancakes, Emma interrogated him about his date with all the thoroughness of a tiny detective. Was she nice? Did she like your jokes? Did you tell her about me? Does she like soccer? Mark laughed, flipping another pancake onto her plate. Yes, she was very nice. I don't know if she likes soccer, but she has a son who's 9, and they both want to meet you. Emma's eyes widened. She has a kid too? Like us? Just like us, Mark confirmed. Emma considered this information carefully while drowning her pancakes in syrup. Is he nice? I haven't met him yet, but his name is Jacob, and he loves dinosaurs. Emma gasped, nearly dropping her fork. Dinosaurs? Daddy, I have to meet him right away. Can we go today? Not today, pumpkin. But soon. We're going to the Science Museum together next weekend. Emma bounced in her seat, already planning which dinosaur facts she would share with her potential new friend. Over the next few weeks, Mark and Olivia texted constantly, sharing the small victories and frustrations of their days. They had coffee once while both kids were in school, and Mark found himself opening up about things he rarely discussed, his fears about raising Emma alone, his guilt about dating again, the way he still sometimes turned to tell Sarah something before remembering she wasn't there. Olivia understood in a way no one else had. Not the same experience, but the same emotions, the overwhelming responsibility, the loneliness, the fierce determination to create a good life despite the challenges. The museum date arrived on a rainy Saturday. Mark felt Emma's excitement as a physical force as they waited in the lobby, scanning the crowds for Olivia and Jacob. "There they are!" Emma shouted, pointing toward the entrance. Olivia looked beautiful in jeans and a casual sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. Beside her stood a lanky boy with serious eyes and his mother's smile, clutching a dinosaur guidebook. The introduction between the children was awkward for approximately 30 seconds before Emma asked Jacob if he knew that the Tyrannosaurus Rex had the strongest bite force of any land animal ever, and Jacob countered that actually, some scientists now think the Spinosaurus might have been even more powerful. They were off, racing toward the first exhibit, leaving the adults to follow in their wake. "Well, that went well," Olivia laughed, falling into step beside Mark. "Better than our first meeting," Mark teased, and was rewarded with her playful swat to his arm. The day was chaotic and perfect. The children alternated between competing to share dinosaur facts and forming an alliance against their parents, who didn't know anything cool about dinosaurs. They ate overpriced museum cafeteria food, explored every exhibit twice, and ended the day with ice cream despite the chilly weather. As they sat on a bench watching the kids compare their souvenir dinosaurs, Olivia leaned slightly against Mark's shoulder. "This is nice," she said quietly. "It is," Mark agreed, taking a chance and slipping his hand into hers. Her fingers intertwined with his, warm and right. Over the following months, their lives began to merge in small, meaningful ways. Sunday dinners at Mark's house, where Emma proudly helped cook. Saturday morning hikes where Jacob taught Emma about identifying different trees. Movie nights where the kids fell asleep on the couch while Mark and Olivia talked in low voices about everything and nothing. It wasn't always smooth. There were tantrums and tears, scheduling conflicts, and parenting disagreements. Jacob went through a period of testing boundaries, worried that his mother's attention was being divided. Emma had a meltdown when she realized that loving Olivia didn't mean forgetting her real mother. But through it all, Mark and Olivia built something neither had expected to find again, a partnership based on mutual respect, shared challenges, and genuine love. 6 months after their first date, they sat on Mark's back porch after the children had gone to bed, sharing a bottle of wine under the stars. "Do you ever think about how differently things might have gone that night?" Olivia asked, her head resting on Mark's shoulder. "If you hadn't been brave enough to be honest," Mark said. "Or if I'd been shallow enough to walk away." "Both, I guess," Olivia murmured. So many relationships never get past that moment of vulnerability. Mark thought about it, watching the way the moonlight silvered the edges of the trees. "I think we were both just tired of pretending our children weren't the most important part of who we are." "I was so scared," Olivia admitted. "I'd been rejected so many times for being a mother. It was easier to push you away first than to wait for you to leave." Mark turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. "I'm not leaving, Olivia. Not you, not Jacob. What we're building here, it's everything I thought I'd never find again." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "I never thought I'd find it in the first place." He kissed her then, gently at first, then with all the emotion he'd been holding back. When they broke apart, both slightly breathless, Mark knew it was time. "I have something to ask you," he said, reaching into his pocket. "And I've already asked Emma and Jacob for their permission." Olivia's eyes widened as he pulled out a small velvet box. "You talked to the kids first," she whispered. "Of course," Mark said with a smile. "They're part of this too." He opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant ring, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. "It's not traditional, but neither are we." "It's perfect," Olivia breathed.